one of the world's most renowned chronicles, ancient and mysterious in all its heavenly splendor, which dates back to 300 BC. The Book of the Watchers is a very old and rare Jewish text, which in modern times has been translated into Christian context. This undoubtedly is the story of the Watchers and the forbidden teachings of the heavens. Enoch's book is host to the elegant pages of the Watchers referenced in the book of Genesis. Enoch was a man who was favored by God and held in high regards. It is believed God respected him so much that he took him into the heavens alive and showed him the secrets of the heavens. The Watchers, described as the Gregori, were tasked with the observation of man, as it was believed their numbers were rising and had reached more conscious state of being. They were also referred to as the sons and daughters of God, and they served as guides to the men and women, and it is believed there were 200 of them. The Watchers began to notice that women had grown in beauty, and they began to desire the daughters of man. Greatly, they gave counsel to one another and decided to take the daughters of men as their wives. Sinjaza tried to tell the other angels to reconsider their plan, but the other Watchers talked themselves into going through with their plan. Sinjaza was supposed to be the leader out of the Watchers. Even though some people believe Azazel was the leader, there's actually Sinjaza who is referenced in the holy context, that he was the leader of the Watchers and only was supposed to be held responsible for the outcome of their fate. They knew the consequences would be great and they would be severely punished for this deed. So they bound one another with curses to prevent one another from going back from their decision, and so one of them couldn't be blamed. They then began ascending to the earth with great thundering and haste to make the daughters of men their wives. Once they had impregnated the women, they began teaching the women about sorcery, apocryphy, herbal healing, roots, trees, conjuration, spells, charms, and weaponry. Later, the women began to give birth to beings known as the Nephilim, giants which were later became some of history's most well-known heroes and men of renowned status. These giants were in the beginning peaceful and lived among men, but gradually over time, when the food became scarce, they began to turn on each other in acts of cannibalism and allegedly started to eat men and women. Azazel taught men sorcery, weaponry, and other kinds of forbidden arts, which made him a prime culprit by God. The other angels taught the stars and astrology, and Azazel also taught men painting and the women about makeup, among other things. The other angels further taught men about alchemy, astronomy, incantations, and science. the Archangel Michael, Gabriel, and Uriel looked down at the earth and noticed the change which had taken place, and held Azazel as responsible for these deeds. And they blamed Sinjaza too for the teaching of science and alchemy. It is believed that God's anger was kindled, and he set about bringing a great wrath upon man. God then commanded Uriel to seek out Noah in order to warn him about a great punishment which was coming upon man for his sins, and that when he finds Noah, he is to instruct Noah to construct a boat big enough for him, his family, and all the animals to fit in, so that he can survive the flood that is to come. God then tells the angel Raphael to bind Azazel in the deepest, darkest pits and hold him there, covered in stones. And on the great day of judgment, that he should be cast into the fire. God tells Raphael to slay the giants. God then tells Sinjaza that he and the rest of the other watchers will have their offspring slain, and their descendants will be slain also for 70 generations. Enoch also passed his message to the watchers, and it is believed he spoke with the voice of God. It could be believed that the watchers are still cast down in the depths, as it doesn't mention their ascension. The place where they are kept is known as the prison of the angels. The Gregory rather, also known as the Watchers in another book of Enoch, are known as being led by a figure called Santanel, which name differs from Azazel. Santanel was believed in one of the books of Enoch to be held responsible for what the Watchers did, and in another book of Enoch, Azazel was held responsible. It is believed the Watchers tried to sing in order to get back God's favour, but God fell silent on them. Who knows what happened to the Watchers? Were they ever freed? Did they ever see the light of day? Is Azazel or Santana still held in chains in the deepest, darkest recesses of the darkness below? We'll never know. I guess this is one compelling story of love, betrayal, punishment, corruption, and heavenly and all its holy and unholy writings. A fable foretold by God's beloved Enoch, great and mysterious in all its ways. This tale has ultimately been the Watchers and the forbidden teachings of the heavens.